You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I'm your host, Steph. It is Friday, May 10th. Nick Sorensen, 49ers defensive coordinator, spoke with the media for the first time today. We also have rookie minicamp. First day these guys got out in pads and started practicing together. So we're definitely going to be talking about both of those things. But first, happy Friday, everyone. It's a great day. I am just loving the fact that we get to talk about actual football again. These last couple of days have been grueling. I mean, just trying to find some things to talk about. But I'm excited for this show. I didn't do a show on Wednesday with Desi, but I thought since we'd be getting some new news today, I'd do a Friday show. So it's just going to be me today. And so hopefully you guys in the live chat are ready to keep me entertained. Jedi says he's clocking in. Technic Chic. What's going on, Technic? Technic Chic says 49K. Sorensen's presser was interesting and love Malik Mustafa's press conference. Yeah, actually, we can talk about that really quickly because a few players met with the media yesterday. Isaac Guerendo, Renardo Green, Malik Mustafa, as well as Jarrett Kingston, the offensive lineman that they drafted as well. Just some small takeaways from those. From Isaac Guerendo's standpoint, and by the way, all of these pressers are on YouTube. If you guys want to check them out on 49ers YouTube channel, and that happened Thursday, so you can see those pressers there. Isaac Guerendo, I feel like I like his mindset. He looked at his role in college as a positive. He was literally asked, like, how many games did you start in college? And whoever asked that knew damn well he had only started one game. Isaac Guerendo did not shy away from the answer. He said one, and I like that he owned it, and he sees it as a positive. He talked about, having less tread on the tires, things like that. He talked about already kind of knowing what to expect going into the league and having that role. He's going to be the second guy, or he's going to be a backup. He's going to have a reserve role. So being that he already did that in college, he kind of knows what to expect with that. So I like his mindset there, just looking at it as a positive. Renardo Green, one thing that stuck out to me in his presser, he was asked about the 49ers playbook and if he had gotten the chance to look at it, how he was feeling about that. He says it's not too complicated. Of course, that's probably on a first glance, right? But I think that's a good sign. Like for rookies to say, okay, like I feel like I could, digest this pretty well. It's not too complicated. I feel like that's a good thing, and also could reflect something good about Renardo Green, that at Florida State, he's got an experience with probably some of the things that are in the 49ers playbook, right? So that goes back to the fit factor of it all. And it definitely feels like Renardo Green is a good fit for this 49ers defense. Malik Mustafa definitely feels like a guy that, fans will kind of gravitate to. A lot of people in the comments of the YouTube video for these pressers were just talking about how they were kind of blown away by Malik Mustafa's, character and things like that. He pulled some jokes. He said to watch a John Lynch tape, he's going to have to pull out some VHS tapes. I mean, damn, that's crazy. But hey, I like the energy. I like the character for sure. So I could see Malik definitely being someone that, fans really like. His energy definitely pops out in those media pressers. All right, now let's get to the presser we're all wanting to hear about today, right? 49ers new defensive coordinator, Nick Sorensen, finally got in front of media today, and let's talk about it. So right off the bat, Matt Mayoko asks him, about the 49ers defensive identity. What does he want the 49ers defensive identity to be? And he said, quote, I want them to see that we're still the standard of what we've always been, an attacking defense that plays fast, we play violent, we play with speed, and we finish, end quote. That's a bar right there. I mean, I love it. I love it. And he did actually mention violence, speed, and finishing at other points in this presser. So I kind of feel like that's definitely a theme that he's bringing to the table with this defense. And he's not wrong. Like, that is what the 49ers identity, I think, on defense has always been. Now he's using like different words and maybe a different slogan than we've had in the past, but all those words that he used, you could have used to describe this defense in years prior. So maybe Nick Sorensen is trying to have a slogan of his own this year, right? With this defense, definitely would not be mad at it being speed, violence, and finish or finishing. So very excited about that. And then some other things, right? Like, I think we've all been kind of wondering about the defense, how much is going to change, especially with Brandon Staley in the fold, right? Let me actually go to the Brandon Staley part of all this first. So, when he spoke about here, let me fix this really quick. When he spoke about Brandon Staley, he said, quote, he sees things holistically. He knows how to build plans. Just getting him in here and spending extra hours and just talking football with him. He's very bright and he's really a humble guy who's smart and knows football. And that's been really awesome and helpful for me. He goes on to say, his role is more holistic. He's been kind of helping me overall. He's been involved with pretty much everything. That's the end of the quote right there. So a couple of takeaways from this, right? Him talking about Brandon Staley. He knows how to build plans, game plans. I mean, that's kind of what we all figured Brandon Staley's role would be with the 49ers, heavy emphasis on game planning. So for him to for Nick Sorensen to mention this, like in the first couple of sentences talking about Brandon Staley, I think, that definitely confirms what a lot of us kind of already figured about this, relationship that they're going to have coaching together. And so also mentioning that Brandon Staley's kind of been helping him overall and pretty much involved in everything. I think a big part of that is, Brandon Staley's going to be guiding Nick Sorensen in a lot of ways at every step of the way, really. And one thing that Sorensen also mentioned that I didn't have here, but he also mentioned, the fact that he has experience as a defensive coordinator and the head coaching experience. He is able to see things holistically. So, yeah, I think Sorensen is going to lean on that experience quite a bit when it comes to Brandon Staley. So I think it's good. I think it ensures that Sorensen's not going to be like overwhelmed too much by what the new role of being a first-time defensive coordinator is going to bring. I mean, we've seen Robert Saleh, we've seen D'Amico Ryans handle that transition pretty well. But I think with Brandon Staley, they could even lessen the learning curve even more, right? So excited about that. Excited about the partnership there. So let me go back to the previous slide I was going to mention, because I think one of the things with Brandon Staley being in the building is we've kind of speculated and we've wondered, okay, well, Brandon Staley has done some things a little bit differently than what this 49ers defense currently does. So, some of those things is emphasizing, the secondary, different types of coverages, different types of looks on the defensive line, outside linebackers, things like that, right? And so I think it was Grant that asked this question, if there's going to be any schematic changes to the defensive line. And that wasn't the question verbatim, but basically it was asking if there's going to be different looks that we're going to see, to which Nick Sorensen answered, quote, "We always are looking to evolve in certain ways. I think there's things throughout the league that you see, and it's like, will this work? Will it not? But as far as what we do, our bread and butter, we're going to do that," end quote. I like to hear that. Like, as far as the bread and butter, that's going to remain the same. The foundation of this defense is going to remain the same. He also mentioned the identity was going to be the same, right? So this doesn't mean that there won't be changes, but it's not gonna be like an unrecognizable defense. I think there are gonna be some wrinkles, which I've kind of, been speculating this whole time that I think there will be some wrinkles influenced by what, Brandon Staley has done in the past. And, Sorensen has talked about the fact that they have kind of had those discussions of, Staley bringing in some ideas and saying, well, I've done this, here, and I've done that there, his through his different experiences with different personnel, different teams, and all that. And so Nick Sorensen can take all of that in and say, well, I know this personnel, I know this 49ers defense, this 49ers team, and I think this might fit. Maybe this won't fit as much with our defense, with the guys that we have, but we could try this, we could try that. So I think it's going to be, a good partnership overall between those two. And I don't think it's like, the more I hear about it, I don't think it undermines Nick Sorensen at all. I really do feel like it's going to be a partnership between those two. So, excited about that. Let me get to a couple of these comments before we jump back into the Sorensen stuff. Shout out everyone. What's up, 49er Media? Rob D, what's going on? 49er Media says the vibes already feel better with Sorensen over Wilkes. I mean, it's only been one presser. I was excited after Steve Wilkes' presser, I'm sure, I mean, Wilkes is like an old school dude, which you could get excited about. Nick Sorensen, to me, strikes me as very not cut and dry, but like straight to the point. Like, a lot of his questions were very simple and like one sentence, one liners, and then, okay, I'm ready for the next question. Like, he's kind of vague. He wasn't really going into a lot of detail on things. And I don't know if that was intentional. I don't know if that was from maybe being a little nervous. Like, this was his first, presser as the defensive coordinator, as the face of the defense, right? So I'm sure there's some nerves in that. We often forget about the human factor of it all. I think it's too early to say if the vibes are better. I'll tell you what, though, like, obviously, being that Nick Sorensen was already a guy that's been in-house, like, I think he already has an understanding of the players, how to relate to them, all that. Obviously, that's a plus. So that's one of the things that right off the bat, is we could say is better than Wilkes. But other than that, it's still a wait and see, very much so. So, what's going on, Uncle Salty? He says, "What's up, Steph? Greetings from sunny Pacific Northwest." Yes, I hear the weather is amazing out in the Bay Area these last couple days. And also, I'm sure Pacific Northwest having some of that as well. Colorado, not so much. We've had some clouds here, but happy that you guys are finally enjoying some sun, because I know it's been raining quite a bit. 49er Media says, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Couldn't agree more. Uncle Salty asks, where can we see film on the on-field action? Assume you're talking about rookie minicamp. We will get to that, and I do have some videos to share from some of the media members that were there. So strap in, stay tuned. Yeah, 80 degrees in Western Washington. Shout out you guys. I mean, that's awesome. Rick Diaz says it's nice and sunny in Chicago. I'm a little jealous. I'm a little jealous right now. I'm not going to lie. So I'm going to change the subject really quick. All right, let's get back to the Nick Sorensen talk, and let's get to the next thing. So one thing that became a big deal, I never thought that it would be a big deal, but it became a big deal last year when we saw Steve Wilkes start the season not coaching from the sidelines on game day, right? Like on the surface doesn't seem like a big deal. Um, you can argue even after Steve Wilkes made the change mid-season, still wasn't that big a deal. You can argue it didn't change much. In any case, this is something 49er fans are very locked into now. Where will the defensive coordinator coach from? Well, good news is Nick Sorensen said he will be coaching from the field. He said, quote, I like being on the field. I was a player and it feels good to be on the field. I want to look the players in the eyes and talk to them. And I feel like that'll be the right thing, end quote. Here's another example of, Nick Sorensen, I think, understanding his guys. I do think the 49ers players do respond well to having their coaches up close and personal during game action. Um, and you can say like maybe that is all a little bit overblown, but I do think it has grown to be a preference of these 49ers players. So just another example. Maybe Nick Sorensen has seen that. Maybe he knows that. Maybe he really just likes being on the field himself and it has nothing to do with any of that. Maybe that didn't influence his decision at all, but I think we can all sleep a little bit better at night knowing that the 49ers defensive coordinator will be on the field this season. So that's some good news right there for you guys. Now, there's a couple things that, Sorensen mentioned about some of the rookies. So let's get to that. So he was asked about Malik Mustafa and his versatility, because one of the things that Mustafa mentioned in his presser was his versatility, and just how he played different roles in that Wake Forest defense. So here's what Nick Sorensen had to say about Malik Mustafa and versatility just as a whole. He said, quote, I just think with safeties and defensive backs today, you need to be versatile, even linebackers. I mean, look at what we've done with certain guys that have been in different positions. It's such a fast game, and offenses look to expose you in certain ways, so you have to be versatile. So we like when guys have the versatility, but we also just loved his play style. I totally get it. I could totally see why they would like Mustafa's play style. He's hard-nosed hitter. He embodies a lot of what this 49ers defense is. And, Sorensen went on to say, Renardo Green as well. He didn't leave him out of this talk. He mentioned both of those guys and Tatum Bethune as guys who fit the 49ers and just, their identity on defense, their physicality, aggressiveness, all those things. So that's good to know on Malik Mustafa. It seems like the 49ers definitely going to lean on the versatility quite a bit, and they like having that, options basically of having different guys who can do a number of different things. Speaking of another, 49ers rookie, Renardo Green, I guess at some point after the presser, I'm sure this was mentioned because it wasn't in the presser video of him at the podium. Nick Sorensen did not mention it there, so maybe it was after. But he did mention that Renardo Green will have a look at nickel corner, and that is something that Renardo Green did do while at Florida State. He did a lot of different things, Renardo Green, for that FSU defense. And so Sorensen did say he'd rather have Green learn the inside first, knowing he can always bump back outside. So that's been primarily where he's been at, on the outside. But I definitely think with the physicality that Renardo Green plays with, learning the inside a little bit more and having him start out there is not a bad idea. I think that physicality, could help with some of those slot receivers. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to that. I mean, we could have very much speculated that he would get a shot at the nickel corner position, but I think, it definitely looks like he's going to get a good look at that spot. So happy to see it. I can't wait till training camp rolls around to see how he looks there, along with some of the going up against like the 49ers receivers. So let me do a quick comment check before I move to the rookie minicamp talk. Uncle Salty says Sorensen sounds pretty good for a rookie coordinator. I'd have to say so myself. I mean, I I would have liked some questions to be answered with a little more, I guess, detail. I don't know if he's maybe just trying to keep his cards close to his chest a little bit, just because he might be looking to add some new things, but doesn't want to reveal all of that right away. Also, it is still very early. It's May, right? So there might be some ideas swirling, that of things they might want to try, but they don't want to commit to anything yet. Because if he comes out and says, "Yeah, we're gonna do this," but then in camp they try it and it doesn't work, then people are gonna be like, well, what happened, right? So maybe he doesn't want to reveal or say too much right now, doesn't want to pigeonhole himself later. If so, I respect that. But at some point, I would like some more, I guess, detail and insight from his answers. Portola45 says Green looked all business during his interview yesterday. Yeah, he kind of, well, I guess Mooney Ward's very like, Mooney Ward has more, I would say, like charisma. Green was very like, also straight to the point, not a lot of smiling, like he was locked in, I guess you could say. Different guys have different types of characters and different types of personalities, and you definitely see that when you see all these different players up in the podium speaking to the media, right? So one thing I've learned is none of that necessarily reflects who the player is on the field. So I think I love Ronaldo Green in his aggressiveness on the field. He's just a quieter dude up on the podium is what I saw. So definitely agree. All business for him. What's up, 49er throwback? What's up, Nathan? Ken says he seemed really nervous. I don't think he's used to talking to the press. Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about are you talking about Green or are you talking about Nick Sorensen? I think you might be talking about Nick Sorensen. In that case, I definitely agree. I do think that's part of it. I think it's natural for people to be kind of a little reserved their first time going up in the media. Yeah, you're talking about Sorensen. And not wanting to say the wrong thing, right? So I think we'll naturally see some opening up of more information as the season goes on. He'll get more comfortable with the media. But yeah, to me, he definitely looked a little nervous as well. He was asked at one point why he was hired for the position, and it just seemed like he wasn't prepared for that question. And he said you'd have to ask Kyle Shanahan. I mean, I don't know. Some people maybe not happy with that answer. Definitely could have been answered better. For sure could have been answered better. But, there's just one of those things that will probably get better with time as he gets used to the whole media thing. I really don't blame him. But let's get on to rookie mini camp. All right, we got number of rookies, as you guys know: Ricky Pearsall, Bernardo Green, Dominic Pooney, Malik Mustafa, Isaac Garendo, Jacob Cowan, Jarrett Kingston, Tatum Bethune, and we got our undrafted free agents as well: Evan Anderson, Jalen Mahoney, Bryson Mays, Tanner Mordecai, Drake Nugent, Tariq Owens, Mason Pline, Cody Schrader. And you can see I've marked here, there's a few of these rookies who have signed their rookie contracts, all right? The only ones that haven't are 49ers first round pick Ricky Pearsall and sixth round pick Jarrett Kingston. No reason to be alarmed, by the way, by that. I mean, sometimes it just there's some little details they got to figure out, I guess. But both of those guys, in any case, were on the field for rookie minicamp. So don't worry about their availability or anything like that. There are also a number of players that tried out, and I'll try to put this up on the screen as big as I can. It's a little difficult to see because there's so many players that tried out, but I'll just mention a couple of tryout players that are interesting to me. I feel like Cade Brewer was a name I heard circulating around draft time. Shaquille Brown is he was in last year's draft class. Just trying to get another opportunity. That's the thing with these tryout players. Some of these guys, not necessarily from this 2024 draft class, some are from years prior, literally just trying out for the team. All the NFL teams bring in guys to try out, and it isn't necessarily all for the 2024 players. So, Jabril Cox is another one, linebacker, former LSU linebacker. He's an interesting one. He was drafted by the Cowboys in the 4th round of the 2021 draft, and he suffered a torn ACL in 2021. So that kind of like derailed his career a bit, I would say. But an intriguing player. He spent some time with the Commanders in 2023. So he tried out today. Couple of guys who were at the 49ers local pro day. So 49ers got a chance to see them. One of those guys being Isaiah Avery, cornerback from Portland State. But yeah, I mean, good for these guys getting those opportunities with the 49ers. Let's see here. One other thing that I wanted to mention. So I'm going to share some clips from practice that I've seen posted. So we got this clip from Sports Athletic, NBC Sports Authentic, sorry. We get wide receivers doing some drills. Audio listeners, so sorry you can't see what we're looking at, but we're just looking at the wide receivers running some drills. It's cool to see these guys for the first time in pads, see how they move, see how they compete against each other. This is like where we all compare everyone to each other. When we look at these drills and we're like, we become, couch GMs. We're like, that guy did not run as fast as this one right here. So we've become very critical. Let's not do that as much, but it's cool. I'm excited to see some of these guys. Let me share some more. We got Ricky Pearsall, who was returning punts during rookie minicamp today, the first practice of rookie minicamp. Jacob Cowing was also returning punts. So cool to see. Definitely not surprising that both of those guys would get that opportunity. Pearsall doesn't have a ton of experience with it in college, but he did have some experience with it. So, and he actually caught the ball. So that's a good sign. This is already better than others. So yeah, those are the 2 videos I have. Now, we had Tim K. Again, I just want to mention, obviously, rookie minicamp is open to the 49ers credential media members. So people like myself and like yourself aren't able to go and watch these guys up close. So we really just have to rely on what is said by these media members, right? And everyone kind of perceives things differently. That's one thing I've learned about training camp is we could literally be looking at the exact same thing and you would think we would all see it the same way, but it isn't always like that. So one thing I would advise people to do is to just take in information from a lot of different sources. Like this is a tweet from Tim K. But Grant Cohn also put out, his recap video after rookie minicamp, and he said a couple of things as well. And sometimes you'll get things on 2 different sides of the spectrum, kind of. But the way I look at those 2 things is, hey, the truth is probably somewhere in the middle, or just take in as much information as you can and then come up with your own, I guess, opinion on it based on that. So one thing that Grant said about Ricky Pearsall, he was targeted a lot. He was targeted 4 times, is what Grant said, but he didn't catch any of the passes. He did mention he was getting open. Uh, One thing that I think Tim K mentions in his tweet here is that quarterbacks couldn't get the ball to him. So it seems, and Grant mentioned this too, the quarterbacks just weren't that great. So it sounds like Pearsall was getting open, but couldn't connect with the quarterbacks. I think Grant mentioned that he dropped a couple too, but I don't know what those balls look like, right? Like, were they too low? Were they, did they bounce off of his hands? Not sure, but yeah, he didn't catch any balls today. Cowan caught a couple, so that's good for him. Ronaldo Green, Grant mentioned him as probably the best player on the field today. He didn't give up a pass. Did mention that Ronaldo Green, he's very physical, and in rookie minicamp, they don't have any like refs on the field, right? So, maybe he got away with some physicality a bit, but hey, it's rookie minicamp. He didn't allow any catches, so that's good. One thing that we talked about that with Brian Smith. If you guys haven't checked that out, my show with Brian Smith from last week, it was the Renardo Green Hype Train show, the episode. And that was one of the things we talked about. Like, I kind of asked Brian, like, hey, he has a lot of penalties in 22 and 23. Should we be concerned about this? Brian Smith was very open and saying he is going to have to adjust to that. He is very physical and very handsy, and that's been his MO. You can get away with that in college quite a bit. And there were times where he didn't even get away with it. But in the NFL, it's going to be even worse, right? Obviously, they really hone in on that part. And so he's going to have to adjust to that in the NFL. And so hopefully he does. Hopefully training camp rolls around and he can get that honed in. Hopefully it's figured out by the start of the season, cuz 49er fans are not very forgiving if you're the dude that is going to be called on a lot of penalties. We do not like that. So anyway, another thing that Tim K said here, Brandon Staley was out there on the field, mostly involved with the DBs. Green and Mustafa could have some thump to them. So, man, that's no surprise. It's literally like if you watch any Bernardo Green and Malik Mustafa, if you watch any of their games, any of their clips, you know they can bring the thump. So, definitely not surprising. And that's why I'm so excited to watch those guys in training camp. But yeah, we're gonna get few more reports like this of rookie minicamp in the next week. Today is Friday, so there's going to be a few more days of this. So yeah, we'll know a little bit more about these rookies in the coming days. Let me get to these comments one more time before I call it. For another throwback says, offense, Dominic Pooney looks like a guy who could possibly play right away, athletic and powerful. So what Larry Krueger said. Hey, that's definitely not surprising to me. I mean, Pooney, I think, was one of the guys that I've been kind of mentioning as someone who could compete right away. Like, obviously, if he doesn't beat out Feliciano, his opportunities will be limited. But if one of those guys, either Aaron Banks or Feliciano, get hurt in the season, hey, even if Colton McKivitz gets hurt in the season, like, I think Dominic Pooney is the guy who could step in right away. He has a lot of experience in college, right? So I think that bodes well for him. And I think he's going to be able to compete in training camp with John Feliciano. And we'll see where the chips fall. Putting on a throwback also says the defensive player was Malik Mustafa. He's thick but fast, and he looked like the best defensive player on the field to Mr. Larry Krueger. Yeah, I mean, but based on everything I hear about Mustafa and Green, and based on the things I've seen myself, I mean, Both of those guys, very exciting players. I really can't wait to see them, uh, up close. So yeah, I'm excited. I love these reports out of rookie minicamp again. I just love being able to talk about actual football again. Love to talk about these players. But guys, it is Friday, and as you guys were saying, it's beautiful outside. So I do want to encourage you guys to go outside and touch grass. I've given you guys a good recap of Nick Sorensen's presser of first day of rookie minicamp. We go to sleep knowing that we got that information and we could talk about football once again. But enjoy your guys' weekend. For all the mothers out there, for all your guys' mothers and all that, I wish you guys a great weekend. I got a card for my mom too, so gonna be good. But that's all for now. I hope you guys have liked this video if you haven't yet. Hope you guys have subscribed to the channel if you haven't yet. But for now, make sure that you guys enjoy the rest of your Friday. Audio listeners, leave a rating, leave a review. Have a good rest of your Friday, folks. Peace.